Thank you. Thank you. You know, we've had a terrific day of poetry here at the White House, and I want to thank the First Lady for hosting a workshop this afternoon for, 150 high school kids, and they got up and they read. It was so beautiful, I wanted to cry. I mean, it was really remarkable, so thank you for hosting that. It was really a great event. So meaningful. Okay, so tonight I'll be reading 3 short excerpts from poems about the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, the first excerpt I'm going to read, of course, is by Walt Whitman. It's called Crossing Brooklyn Ferry, and it was written in 1856, nearly 30 years before the bridge was built, right? And so in it, Whitman describes crossing the East River by ferry in the exact spot where the bridge stands today. And moving forward 75 years, the second excerpt will be from the poem To Brooklyn Bridge, written in 1930 by the modernist American poet Hart Crane. And here the bridge serves as a spiritual metaphor comprised of a series of fleeting images and emotions that refer to the bridge, but they never describe the bridge. Okay? And finally, I'll be reading 2 excerpts from my book. Everything's very short. Traffic, written in 2007, which is a transcription of every traffic report given every 10 minutes on the ones over the course of 24 hours on a New York City AM radio station. Now, here the Brooklyn Bridge, the Grand Brooklyn Bridge, is reduced to being a bit player in a series of monuments that are evaluated not for their spirituality or humanity or significance in any way, but merely on how fast or how slow they get you to where you're going. Okay, so the first is the Whitman piece from Crossing Brooklyn Ferry, written in 1856. Flood tide below me, I watch you face to face. Clouds of the west, sun there, half an hour high. I also see you face to face. Crowds of men and women attired in the usual costumes, how curious you are to me. On the ferry boats, the hundreds and hundreds that cross, returning home, are more curious to me than you suppose. And you that shall cross from shore to shore years hence are more to me and more in my meditations than you might suppose. What is it then between us? What is the count of the scores or hundreds of years between us? Whatever it is, it avails not, distance avails not, and place avails not. The second piece says Hart Crane, an excerpt from To Brooklyn Bridge from 1930. Again the traffic lights that skim thy swift, unfractioned idiom, immaculate sigh of stars, beating thy path condense eternity, and we have seen night lifted in thine arms. O sleepless as the river under thee, vaulting the sea, the prairie's dreaming sod, unto us lowly lists sometimes sweep, descend, and of the curved ship lend a myth to God. And now finally, 2 pieces from Traffic. They are 2 pieces that are 10 minutes apart. The first one is from 4:21 in the afternoon. And we are still going to have delays to get through a pretty bad rush hour. We've got major delays on 7th and 8th Avenues as you make your way through the Midtown area. 7th Avenue delays begin right out of Central Park all the way down to Times Square. Broadway's not impacted. Obviously, 9th and 10th Avenue seeing more traffic as well, but not as bad as headed through the Times Square area. Meanwhile, on the east side, it's a torture test. because a lot of the side streets are taking a beating, especially through the 40s and 50s. That will impact traffic at the 59th Street Bridge, which is jammed coming into Manhattan. Right now, you've also got jam-ups on the Brooklyn Bridge, bumper to Brooklyn, but the lower roadway is wide open. The Brooklyn Bridge is swamped. The FDR Drive's not looking good either, bumper to bumper right off the Manhattan Bridge. Meanwhile, the West Side Tunnel delays begin in the 70s, and they go all the way south down to the Battery Tunnel. There's one more, and it gets worse. 10 minutes later, at 4:31 in the afternoon, remember how bad it was yesterday? It's starting all over again. The east side delays begin at the Triborough. It's pretty much one long line now, all the way to the Battery. The west side delays to the Battery. Back at the Boat Basin at 79th Street, we've got a ton of interior traffic in Midtown. 7th Avenue, Times Square, that's the delay. That's where it's all going. It's coming out of Central Park. Broadway and 8th Avenue are going to be impacted by that. On the east side, the side streets are packed through the 40s and 50s, and that's why 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and Park Avenue right now are an absolute mess. So trying to get around Midtown just like yesterday is not going to be easy at all. Across the East River, already a ton of traffic each way on the Brooklyn Bridge. Now the Manhattan Bridge is bumper to bumper coming into Manhattan, jam-packed on the upper roadway to Brooklyn. The lower roadway is also a mess. 59th Street Bridge is getting real bad. The belt is jammed up east off the Verrazano, some type of problem on the way out to Coney Island. And right now, heavy transit delays. Be sure to budget extra travel time taking the LIRR out of Penn Station. Thank you.